Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 17 of A View to a Kakuranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show, we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Oh, not bad, man. Can't complain.
Had a nice chilly, sunny day here in Cleveland, Ohio.
I know. Oh my gosh, just sunshine. It's so good.
You forget, right?
Like maybe you also live... Yeah, I know. Guys, maybe you also live in like gray places, but in the winter when the sun shines in Cleveland, it's like a balm to your soul. It just feels so good.
Yeah, like even if
it's really sunny out.
Even if it's like 10 degrees like it is today, you still just want to like go outside and stand in the sun. But we're not doing that, Dave. We're inside, and we're recording episode 17.
It's like 10 degrees out. I'm not going outside.
Sure. Episode 17's title, Dave, is The Demon Sword and Underwear? But before we get into that, Shining in the Heavens, Dave, there are 5 stars. What is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, Matt, is that this upcoming school week is finals week, which is a very weird, it's a very weird thing because so like last week I was on Christmas break, or 2 weeks ago I was on Christmas break,
right? And
then this past week I was at school, but then this upcoming week is finals week, which if you've been in high school or college, you know is a real wonky week, and then it's followed by a 4-day weekend, and then we're like back into it for real.
That is
and
very
it's
weird.
Just... Yeah, it's like a huge pain because you go on break and then you come back from break and the first thing you have to do is start prepping for finals, which is like a weird stutter step for the kids and for us. It's very strange.
Yeah, I cannot imagine wanting to come back from a vacation to take a bunch of tests.
Yeah, it's really weird, but I did get the fun experience of I have some freshmen and they're freaking out because it's finals week. They're like, oh, because they've never had a finals week before, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, you don't understand. Finals week is the best. And they're like, what do you mean finals week is the best? I'm like, because all you have to do is show up for your exams. Like, that's it. It's amazing.
Yeah, you have 5 things to do all week.
Right, and then the rest of the, you should be studying or whatever, but the rest of the time is kind of yours to do with what you want. And so because of the classes that I teach, I actually don't do final, because I also teach theater, right?
Right.
And so I don't have a final for my theater class just because of the nature of, it's a performance-based class, and I've only got an hour and a half slot for my final. I can't have everybody, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't have everybody perform. So I just sort of don't have one and kind of don't mention it to anybody that would care.
Okay.
So I hope, I'm pretty sure my principal doesn't listen to the Super Sentai Brothers, so I think it's fine. So, I just don't have a final. And then I just kind of have a free week, which is great. So it's finals week. If you are also, there's nobody else has. I was about to be like, good luck if you also have finals. Nobody else has finals week this week.
No, and even if they did, they're getting this episode a week later, so no one is going to be having a finals week the 3rd week in January, whenever this drops.
So it's finals week. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a lot of good stuff. My classes have actually been great this year. I was about to say, you don't know, but some years you have great classes and some years you have crummy classes.
Okay.
And this
I
year,
believe you.
Yeah, this year, most of my classes are great. I have one theater class that's full of kids that aren't actually interested in being in theater, and that sucks.
That sounds like a bad class for them to be in.
Yeah, it is. Well, somebody decided that our kids shouldn't have study halls anymore, and so every kid has to be in a class every period. Because high schoolers do great when they don't have any downtime and are in classes straight for 8 hours a day. That's the best for their cognitive development. Yeah. So basically, because kids have to be in classes all day, they've got to be somewhere, and so they end up taking electives that they don't want to take. And then, yeah, it's a real bad plan. But it's finals week. I'm excited. And then I got a 4-day weekend. Well, okay. I don't actually have a 4-day weekend because Friday I'm going to be there, but the kids won't be. And any day that the kids aren't there,
it's basically a day off. Yeah.
It's basically a day off.
Well, that's awesome. Why don't you now? Let's transition into star number 2. What, Dave, is our second star of the week?
So, second star of the week, Matt, is I have a couple of kids that eat lunch in my classroom because they're like a particular breed of weird nerd.
Okay. Is there not like a cafeteria?
No. There is. Just high school cafeterias are awful, particularly if you're kind of like a weird nerd. And as I think probably comes as a surprise to no one, at my school, I'm kind of like the patron saint of that particular breed of weird nerd, right?
Yeah, no, I can dig that.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's blown away by that piece of information. And so mostly because they eat lunch, it's also my lunch period. So they're eating lunch and I'm eating lunch and they're sort of like talking and chatting. And I basically just let them like talk and chat. But every once in a while, if they have said something like particularly interesting or whatever, I feel the need to like pipe in. So they were in the middle of a discussion about their Supernatural role-playing game. Supernatural, the TV show, by the way.
Are they using that weird system that we tried to play one time?
Oh, no, almost definitely not. This has got it, like, this is entirely online. This is all, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
this is...
Okay.
Right. And so, we have probably mentioned it before, but I don't have the time, just because of, like, the way my universe is structured, to listen to a lot of podcasts, but I do listen to My Brother, and Me, as do, I think, all right-thinking human beings.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, if you don't... What? You just, what?
What are you doing listening to podcasts and not that one? But we've
talked
talked about
that
that in the past.
Yeah, so anyways, if you listen to it, as I imagine you do, you know that their slogan this year, it's no be excellent to each other, but they do have a very funny slogan. Their slogan this year is 20 Serpentine, keep them guessing.
Yeah, zag on them.
You got to zag on them. And so this girl, MJ, she's sitting in my classroom, and somebody says something, and she replies with, like, well, I wanted to do something unusual. That's my slogan for this year. Got to keep them guessing. And I, from the back of the room, sort of pipe up, and I say, well, it's 20 Serpentine. And MJ whips around and about falls out of her chair, like laughing. Nobody else has any idea what's going on, because I guess none of these other kids listen to this, to My Brother, and Me, but she about loses it. And then, like, I managed to keep a straight face, because, like, that's the funniest reaction for me. And so, it was just a great moment, because I love any time that I can reinforce for kids that teachers don't, like, sleep in the closet.
Right, that you are like a human being with a life. Right,
that I like do stuff outside of school, and I like live by my school, so I like run into kids, so they kind of get it. But that was just a particularly great moment, and we never talked about, like, we didn't continue to talk about it. There was just like a shared moment, like, yeah, we're both there. Yeah, so that was fun. That's my second star of the week. Matt, what is our third star of the week?
So our third star of the week is something that happened to me at work. Is without going into a bunch of unnecessary and boring details, we're doing a little bit of like reorganizing at work, like physical reorganizing.
Corporate reorg.
No.
Fascinating.
Not corporate reorg. Just like physical, locational reorg.
Oh, okay. Like you're moving your desk 5 feet. Gotcha.
Yeah. So what was happening is that like they're taking existing teams and sort of like mixing and matching people into like smaller units to work on a different project. And so part of this is that everybody yesterday, like there's like everyone in like 2 or 3 different units, which is like a total of maybe like 60 people or something, all at the same time stood up, packed up everything in their desk, and moved to a different part of that same chunk of the office
Oh, so the desks themselves aren't moving. Like, you are just...
Yeah, no, I just got moved like 20 feet to a different desk to sit next to a different person.
Please tell me that nobody spoke at all while it happened. Like,
no.
Just
Here's the thing. Everybody spoke. It was like this big sort of like impromptu, like fun party time. And it felt, you know what it felt like, Dave? It felt like either the first or last day of school in college when everyone's like moving in and out of the dorms.
Oh, dude, that's a good...
Everybody has like things stacked up on their chairs and are like shoving everything in a backpack and are taking their posters down. And like you almost expect to like turn around and see like somebody's uncle like carrying a box for them. Just like, you know, like an RA wandering through asking if anybody needs help. It was great. And now my seat is closer to and facing a window. So for me, that was a net positive.
No, that sounds great. Man, if you don't, like, okay, let me just say, do you remember, Matt, like, in the warm glow of your imagination, do you remember what the last day of school feels like?
Oh, yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. And you ever have an experience where you're just like, man, whatever I'm remembering, it can't possibly be as good as I remember it. Like, this must be couched in, like, the warm golden haze of memory, and I'm sure it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, it was good, I'm sure, but it couldn't have been that good.
Okay. It is. It still is. Like, I'm 34 years old, and the last day of school is just as good as... It's actually the last day with students, because we're all there for one more day. The last day with students is actually better than my actual last day.
Because you're sort of like riding off of their like exuberance.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, they're like youthful pheromones or something. And I'm just sort of like riding their wave as well. And then I also know that I only have one day left. It's great.
That's amazing.
But man, that sounds... Okay, that version is good. Of where like everybody you were hanging out and having fun. I did sort of hope that there was like a prearranged signal and that it was like a weird, like everybody stood up and like picked up their box and walked over and then sat back down and immediately continued working.
Yeah, I mean that is what makes it worse than a regular thing like that where it's the last day of school, which is when I got to my new desk and set everything up, like I then had to go back to answering emails.
Yeah, that's not
but it was Friday, so it's the weekend now. Anyway, Dave, what is our fourth star of the week?
So this is a brief star, Matt, but our dad is visiting, and he was staying with me, and then last night was his last night over here, and so we were talking about dinner, and he said, we were like, well, you know, you're heading home tomorrow. Is there any place, you know, like Cleveland food that you want, or a particular thing that you want to eat that maybe would be hard to eat in Sweden? Like, let's have that. And we had been talking about Italian earlier that night, and he said, you know what sounds really amazing is chicken cacciatore. Like, that's what I want to have. I want to have chicken cacciatore.
Man, I haven't had chicken cacciatore in years.
Yeah, well, I said, you know what? I could make chicken cacciatore, which I haven't made in a long time. But, like, I did it up. Like, I made fresh pasta.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, yeah, like, I did the whole thing, Matt. I got my, like, I took my like collared shirt off, so it's just me and like my undershirt, and like I've got my apron on, and I'm like making fresh pasta, chopping. I'm like sautéing tomatoes, all sorts of stuff. First of all, it felt good. Because I don't actually cook as much as I used to.
That is very true. You guys used to cook like every night.
Well, sorry. I personally don't cook as much as I used to. Okay, so when my wife and I were both working, we kind of split the cooking because she doesn't have like a job outside of our home anymore. She does most of the cooking just because like...
Yeah, she's home all day. She has more of an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, precisely. So I don't cook as much as I used to, but like I finished up this cacciatore. I basically never do this. I did take a picture of it. It looked so good. It was just, I think, actually, Matt, I'm going to send it to you. I want you to tweet this picture. Like, guys, this cacciatore, it just,
I can do that for you, Dave.
It was so good. Fresh pasta. Anyways, So it just felt really good because I was like, all right, still got it.
Nice.
So it was nice. It was a good moment. So yeah, that's it. The whole thing is that I made great dinner last night.
Hey, dude, I'm into it. Sometimes, Dave, sometimes that's all the star has to be. It's just what's in our life. Whatever we talk about, that's the show. And right now,
delicious chicken cacciatore.
And now, Dave, the long-awaited fifth and final star of the week. Lay it on me. What you got?
So, final star of the week, Matt, is everyone is gone from my house. Everyone's gone.
After weeks?
After, I think, 3 weeks or so. And, listen, that's not as bad for me as I think maybe it would be for other people. I genuinely love having guests. Beth and I have a big house. We specifically got a big house because we like to have guests. People come and visit for a long time. It's great. I love having people come visit. And I genuinely love and have deep affection for all the people that were visiting.
Sure.
And it was wonderful. It was thrilling to see everybody. We all hung out and played games and ate and cooked and drank and did Christmas stuff and everything and blah, blah, blah. But my house is empty and it's so quiet. It's just quiet. And I love it when I love quiet. I'm such an old man, but I love it when things are quiet. So it's just very chill and restful. And I'm looking forward to seeing all those people the next time I see them. But for now, everyone's out of my house and it's super chill. And I'm very much digging it. And I'm feeling good, Matt. Feeling good, ready to watch some Ninja Sentai.
Nice. I was going to say, if you are wanting to enjoy some chill, just relaxing time on your own, free of guests, just doing what you do best, then why don't you throw on the most relaxing TV show of all time, Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, the Demon Sword and Underwear. And we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we have just finished watching episode 17 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, the Demon Sword and Underwear. It's a Saizo episode, and it's good.
Dude, I'm so psyched, because this is now really feeling like a Sentai show again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little in the last few weeks, but
it
has maintained that streak for me.
Right, I'll stop talking about it after this. I'm so delighted, because Power Ranger was so good, and Jetman was so good, and I just wasn't getting that same vibe from Kakuranger, and now I'm really starting to get it, and it's just a lot more fun.
It had a slower start, but now that we're in it, it feels good. So this episode starts, and we see someone. We don't catch his face immediately, because the camera's sort of cutting around it. But he's in a car, he's driving around, he's listening to this cheesy pop song about going on a date with a woman who wants expensive things.
Yeah, and it's baby, I can't afford to get you all the stuff you want, blah, 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 blah.
He's got a suit on and sunglasses. It's very much giving the look this is a cool guy in a cool car.
Guy.
But it's all
my
really
cool guy
shots.
Is in caps. So this guy's driving, and he pulls up, and we see the Rangers, and they're working at the stand. First of all, everybody has new outfits.
Yeah, Sasuke is wearing exclusively blue, which is infuriating.
Yeah, that's driving me crazy. Also, that dude is wearing some short shorts.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is actually wearing a pair of extra short jean cutoffs and then a slightly longer pair of regular shorts underneath that. And then a blue tie-dyed shirt with a matching blue tie-dyed headband. It's not a great look for Sasuke.
It's a signature look. You look at that, and you're not going to mistake it for somebody else.
No, you certainly are not. And Tsuruhime actually looks very cool. She's got she's got that same sort of hippie chic thing going on, but she's updated a little bit. It's a good look. So anyways, they're all working at Nekomaru / the crepe truck stand, and this car drives up, and it's Saizo. Saizo is the dude who is driving in this car.
But what's funny is that
And
now
he
that we
is-
get a closer look at it, like, it's not some cool guy, it's Saizo, and it's not some cool car. It's like this total wreck.
Yeah, he does look a little bit like Kazu, I think, from Die Ranger, but that might be pretty superficial. But he's got a suit, and he pops out of the car, and he's like, "Hey guys, check it out! Got a car, got a suit." And they're like, "What? A, why? And B, how? How do you have a car?"
Because what they say, none of them ask, like, how did you manage to buy this car? They ask, where did you steal this car, you thief? Because, like, they know that
right.
Saizo doesn't have money.
Well, they're ninjas, so maybe that's not an unreasonable default. But he didn't. He didn't steal it. And what Saizo says is, "Oh, I bought it with my savings." Okay, so there's two things I was thinking about this. At first, I was like, "What savings? You never have any money." This has been literally, this has been the plot point of previous episodes, that you don't have any money. But on the other hand, maybe this is why he doesn't have any money.
Right, this whole season, he's been saving all of the money he gets from his share of the crepe stand to buy this car.
In which case,
he spent his
good for you, Saizo.
he spent like his $20 in savings on a car that is like a complete piece of junk.
Well, I don't know, man. It seems to drive all right.
It does seem to drive. What's funny is, though, he's like, yeah, I got this car. I'm going to go pick up chicks. And he starts to drive away, and like this huge cloud of smoke like blasts out of the rear of the car.
Okay, just real quickly, Matt, I want to point out, he does not say, "I'm going to go pick up chicks." What he says is, "I'm going to go on a ride with a cute girl." What we are about to find out is that he does not have a pre-arranged date. He's just going to go drive around until he sees someone and say "Hey, how about you? Would you like a ride in my car?"
Sure. Would you like to get out of my dreams and into my car?
"Baby, you could drive my car."
Any of these options would work.
Man, I was really hoping you had a third car-oriented song.
I did too. I really hoped, and maybe in 10 minutes one will occur to me, but not right now.
Okay, so anyways, he's driving around, and he pulls off. There's this giant cloud of smoke, and we shoot over, and we see it's over by a river, and Saizo drives up. Okay, so his stated plan is that he is just going to drive around until he sees a cute girl. Where he is driving, okay, he's driving down by the docks, which, relative to the rest of this show should not be surprising, because that's where, all the action happens. But he's already said he's going to try and pick up girls.
Right. He's not driving around downtown. He's not
Right?
sort of going through a residential area. He is down by the docks picking up chicks. He sees a woman wearing... he does see a woman. He sees a beautiful woman in a red dress. And he says "Oh, right. This is my lucky day. Right away, I found a cute girl." And he just leans out his window and says "Hey, baby, are you looking for a ride?" Which, if you were to just walk into this episode and see that scene, you would think that this was a very different show.
A super different show, and not a show that is appropriate for children.
No, you would think that this was one of the early scenes from Pretty Woman.
Man, have I ever told you about the original draft for the final scene of Pretty Woman?
I think I've heard that it is different than it actually ended up being in the movie, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, okay, so in the movie what happens is basically happily ever after, right?
Yeah.
In the original draft, what happens is, at the end of the weekend, as originally planned, he basically, pulls up in his limo at the same street corner that he picks up, Julia Roberts at, kicks her out of the limo. She starts, yelling at him, and he literally just, throws a wad of money out the window and drives away. And then she screams, obscenities after his, retreating limo, and then starts, crying and picking up the money.
Wow.
Roll credits.
That's
the original last scene.
That sounds like maybe that was not the best use of America's sweetheart, Julia Roberts.
So Saizo, it looks like it's attempting to do a Pretty Woman, and Well, ultimately, I guess being on a street corner with money is better than being killed by Muteki Shogun, which, like, spoilers, she's going to get killed by Muteki Shogun because she's definitely a yokai.
Yes.
So, yeah, if I had to pick street corner and money versus Muteki Shogun Flaming Sword. Anyways.
Listen, it's the best of two bad options.
So America's sweetheart Julia Roberts is standing there, and she, like, has a fan. And she, like, pulls it out, and he's like, ooh, fan. I don't know why Saizo is excited by the fan, but Lady in Red, I'm really trying hard not to sing the song. But
I wish that you would try harder.
Yeah. I haven't sung it. How much harder do you want me to try?
I can hear it in your head, and it's already too much.
It's just emanating telepathically.
So, okay. So she has this fan, and Saizo's smiling at her, and then she sort of turns, and instead of having a fan, she has a katana.
Yes! And then she starts, like, slashing, not at his car, like, at his car in the sense of, like, in the direction of his car.
Yeah, she is not standing, like, adjacent to his car. She's still a good ways away. But she's just slashing the sword in the air, and parts of his car just start flying off.
Yeah. And we as this is happening, we pop over and we see there's a kid, just some kid, unaccompanied at the docks with a camera. And he is taking pictures of this happening. Okay. And then the lady in red, like, keeps slashing at the car, and she's, like, dismantling the whole car with, like, air slashes, which is actually pretty rad.
This is a great scene, because, like, what they do, like, they just got a bad car for this, and they dismantled it, and so when you're watching it, like, the first move is the classic, like, second episode of X-Men the Animated Series, where Wolverine cuts off the top of Cyclops' car, and then says, "Tell Cyclops I made him a convertible." Like, there's that moment.
Oh, man, I forgot about that show.
There's that
scene. Sorry.
I was going to say, there's no way on earth you forgot about that show. But that...
No. I can sing the theme song right now.
And then she's, like, cutting off the doors, and she cuts off the hood. And eventually we cut back to the car, and it's just Saizo still sitting in the driver's seat, holding the steering wheel. But it's just, like, an exposed engine block and 3 chairs, like, sitting on top of 4 wheels. It's amazing.
It gets better. So he jumps out of the car, what's left of the car, and he says, "Why?" He's like, "I saved up for so long to buy this car. Why would you do this?" And then she, like, pulls the sword out and starts slashing at him. And then you see him, and it cuts down to the ground, and you see his feet, and then all his clothes fall down. Like, and then it pops back up to Saizo, and he's just standing there, mortified in his underwear.
It does that great thing where she cuts all the clothes, and then she puts her sword back in the sheath, and then all the clothes fall off Saizo.
Yeah, well, she's also some sort of ninja thing, something or other.
It's
and
amazing.
So,
and
the
just
kid, by the way,
on Saizo's face, like, how badly this day has gone for him.
I should mention, by the way, the kid is still taking pictures. So he is now snapping, like compromising candids of Saizo, which is a weird moment. And so then the lady in red puts her sword away, and she says, "Goodbye, baby," in English, and then she's gone. Nekomaru then turns the corner for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they were, like, out searching for him, but they happen to run across him. And, like, everybody shows up and rolls out of the Nekomaru and are just staring at Saizo, like, in his underwear with his ruined car, and they love it. They are having a wonderful afternoon laughing at Saizo's misfortune.
So when they show up, the kid sort of, like, sees them arriving and for whatever reason decides that he should probably hightail it. So the kid's gone and the lady's gone, so it's just them. We go back to this new scene where we see Nekomaru, they're driving, and
Saizo is driving.
Yeah, Saizo is driving. He's got, like, just a regular outfit on now. And they're talking, they say, well, she must be a yokai. Which, okay, they've mentioned this, like, once or twice in previous episodes of Kakuranger, where something weird happens and the Kakurangers are like, oh, this is obviously a yokai. And every time it happens, I love it. because like no other Sentai show that I've seen, at least, which is admittedly only 2, but no other Sentai show does this. They're always surprised when it's a monster. And I just love it that the Kakurangers are like, so this is obviously a yokai, right? Like everybody knows
we're eventually
going
to have to get in giant robots and murder this woman, right? Like that's just our plan for the afternoon.
Yes. Okay, cool. Good to know. And yeah, so they're like, she's obviously a yokai, and he's Saizo, and all that is left of his car is the window ornament, and he's sort of like looking at it and crying, which is great.
In a good example as to why you should never look at a hood ornament and cry while driving, he almost runs over the small photographer child who has run into the road to stop them.
Which, not a great idea, kid, but whatever. So it works. And so the kid runs up and he says, hey, I've got a picture you might be interested in. And he pulls out a picture that he has developed of Saizo in his underwear and says, I will sell you this picture for what, like 100,000 yen or 10,000 yen or something? Yeah, he's like, I will sell you this picture for 10,000 yen. And Saizo's like, what? You trying to blackmail me? And the kid's like, yeah, 10,000 yen. And then Saizo goes to grab him and the kid runs.
Yeah, because Saizo's like, I do not have 10,000 yen. I just spent all my money on that car. And the kid bolts. And instead of chasing him in the vehicle, Saizo, which I guess is probably good, because then what's the end goal? It's like you run over a child. So he gets out of Nekimaru and starts running after the kid. And all of the other Kakurangers are just sort of looking on, and they're like, well, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And one of them says that children these days are scarier than yokai, which is fun.
So the kid is running away. Saizo is chasing him. Saizo, you are literally a super ninja.
Okay, I have that in my notes too, because what happens next is the kid gets away from him. He is a superhero ninja, and just the superpowers of being 8 got him, escaped.
How is this, I'm pretty sure we've seen Saizo pull, some sort of short-range teleportation. There's just I genuinely, when the kid got away, I assumed that the kid was going to somehow be, tied into the yokai plot.
I did too.
Because I was like, well, there's this must be a trap. Because there's no possible way an 8-year-old child is going to be able to run away from a literal super ninja. But he does. The kid's he's not, by the way. This is not a trap. It's just a child.
No, he is not.
Saizo is the worst.
But yeah, at that point in the show, I genuinely thought that instead of it being a problem where they had to fight a lady with a sword, they would have to fight a crazy yokai dedicated to blackmail.
Yeah, it was going to be, but no, that's just a kid. So then the lady is back. Her fan turns into a sword again. And here's where we find out that this is Amikiri. Amikiri. So this is Amikiri.
Yeah.
And what she says is, I fought your ancestor, Saizo's ancestor, and this is the day that I finally cut off the bloodline of this ancient dude. And she has she looks super cool. She's wearing robes, but then she's got a weird hat on, and then one of her arms is a giant 3-bladed arm cyber blade thing.
It is the titular demon sword.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It's awesome. And yeah, again, this is one of those things that makes this show feel like it has a purpose, unlike the earlier episodes, because this lady has a grudge not against Saizo the dude, but against the Saizo family, because, generations ago, the guy, the ancestor that we saw in the first episode of Saizo cut this lady's arm off. And so now she's replaced it with this demon thing and is out for revenge, and I love it.
Yeah, so she and Saizo start fighting, and the other Rangers are there. I'm sorry. Amikiri is a yokai, and they are known for cutting laundry lines and nets. And so they're a pretty semi-benign yokai, but the quest for revenge, the narrator tells us, has made her scary. And there's nothing scarier than a woman bent on revenge. So, back to the episode. They henge, they fight. Then the other Rangers show up, just kind of, they probably followed Saizo a second later. And they're like, oh, he's fighting. Let's join the fight. So they're all fighting, and then we see Demon Sword's Amikiri's like main attack, or like one of her attacks, is that she can like launch the blades off of her crazy cyber arm
because there are like
at
3
people.
blades on it.
Yeah, it's rad. It looks a little bit like Daken, like Wolverine's weird son.
Oh yeah.
If you need a visual picture, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah, Doc with like his weird wrist claw.
It's kind of dumb. It actually looks a lot better on Demon Sword than it does on him. So,
although Daken did have that sweet mohawk.
Yeah. So she like launches these blades, and the Rangers get hit, and then they're like, you know what, we're not going to worry about this. So they just dip. So they're gone. They're back at Nekomaru, and now we sort of get the reason why they left. Is they're like, whoa, she's actually like pretty intense, and we are not sure how we're going to beat her. Like, she's very good with that Demon Sword arm thing. That like missile launchy attack is pretty intense. Like, we need to regroup and plan. Awesome.
And so they're sitting around, and one of them, was it Jiraiya?
Yeah, I think so.
It was either Jiraiya or Tsuruhime. It doesn't really matter for the sake of the story. Realized that if that little kid was taking pictures at the dock when Saizo got all his clothes cut off, then he was also probably taking pictures of Amikiri, which means that if they get those photographs and like analyze them, they might be able to find like a weakness in her style to show them how they can beat the Demon Sword.
Right. So they find the kid, and he says, yes, I do have some pictures, but I'm still going to charge you like a whole bunch of money for them. And they're like, dude, kid, we're like trying
like absurd amounts of money. He's like, give me 100,000 yen.
Yeah. So they're like, dude, kid, A, we do not have that money, and B, we're trying to beat like a demon sword. Like, we're trying to beat a terrible yokai monster. Like, why are you doing this? And he says, well, I need money. I really want to be a photographer, and I have to have cash. I want to get a new camera. I've got to do this. As soon as he says this, Young Noble Jr. sort of appears as a phantom in the sky, but in his like skull general form, and blasts the kid with lightning, and like lightning teleports the kid away.
Yes, leaving only his backpack, which is a great
which is like
visual.
a weird. Yeah, it's odd. Okay, so we go from there to
real quick, Dave. Can we talk about that moment for a second? Because imagine
please do.
Imagine that you're the Kakurangers. You're talking to this kid. He's asking you for money.
Hold up. Imagine I'm there.
Okay. So, you are one of the Kakurangers.
Yep, I'm there.
You were talking to this small child who is basically like blackmailing you, or like, really trying to get a lot of money out of you. You're kind of annoyed with
power
him.
of imagination. I'm good.
All of a sudden, giant skull face appears in the sky. Red lightning zaps out of the giant skull face's eyes. Zaps this small child. The child screams and then vanishes in like a puff of smoke, leaving only his backpack.
Disturbing, but not terribly unusual.
At this moment, do you, one of the Kakurangers, think, Young Noble Jr. has kidnapped the child? Or do you think, I guess Young Noble Jr. just murdered that kid? Because there's no reason for them to assume that was a teleportation effect.
He definitely just murdered that child.
Like when
it's funny.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm so keyed into like the Super Sentai universe where like no way did that kid actually die because like it's a show for babies. That I was like, oh wow, he must have just teleported that kid away. But no, the much more logical conclusion is that he lightning murdered that boy.
Yes. And so when they see him later in the episode, like, they're happy to see him, and that's great. Oh, by the way, spoilers, they do see the kid later in the episode.
Because he does get teleported away, it's fine.
But if it were me, and I saw that kid later in the episode, it'd be like, oh my gosh, Toru. His name is Toru. Oh my gosh, Toru, you are somehow alive and not murdered with lightning. I'm so happy.
This is great. We were not looking forward to that conversation with your parents. So sorry. So we go from the lightning teleport to to what appears, okay, I would say it's a dance club, but this is not accurate.
No.
What we see is Amikiri in her human form, and she is on a pedestal, and she is like dancing with a fan, and there is like some definite dance music going on, but everything else is dark. They are not in a defined space, so it's just sort of this like dark, poorly defined space. There's mist everywhere. She's up on a pedestal dancing, and there's like some lights. Surrounding her are other young ladies also dressed like for the club, right?
Yeah, and surrounding them are large, like evil-looking statues. Some of those statues, like because they're rigged up with like joints and stuff, are also dancing.
Yeah. It's
awesome. I mean, I know it's weird, but the idea
it's
of
a
like,
weird moment.
This weird formless void where the yokai go to dance and the statues dance with them, I was super into it. Especially because, okay, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, well, just a second. Okay, so into this moment walks young Noble Jr., and he's like got the kid. And then once he walks in, all of the other dancing ladies who are not Amikiri turn into Dorodoros, like turn back, I would assume, into Dorodoros, and then disappear. This is weird to me.
No, see, this is what I loved.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out, do yokai just use Dorodoros as like a personal holodeck? Like, I, Amikiri, would like to be in a dance club. I don't have other dancers, but like I need to be surrounded by other dancers for this to be like a dance club moment that I want to experience. All you Dorodoros, shapeshift, dance club time. And the Dorodoros are like, okay, cool, dance club.
Yeah,
and
like they don't really have like independent motivations. They're just sort of like these weird sort of like wobbly, ghosty minion things that can be transformed into stuff. And Amikiri was like, dude, I want to dance. Like, let's put together like a crazy, weird, evil dance zone. And nobody likes to dance by themselves.
Yeah. So,
Not
yeah, I guess
Idol.
that's just the Doro.
I mean, he does end up doing it sometimes.
It's no car song, Matt, but that was a good cut.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so I guess that is like one of the functions of Dorodoros, is to function as like just like holodeck actors for the yokai. So anyway, so young Noble Jr. appears, and he tells Demon Amikiri, the Demon Blade, he says, listen, you've got to be careful, because the Kakurangers were going to try and study this kid's pictures to find out your weakness. But then they pull the pictures out, and it turns out the kid is like just not a good photographer. Like, all the pictures are like super blurry and out of focus.
And Amikiri starts cracking up.
Because at first she's like legit nervous. She like takes the pictures like, oh no, what if they discover my weakness? And then she just starts, it's kind of a mean moment actually, because she's just laughing at this kid because he is a bad photographer.
And they're like, okay, so what are we actually going to do with this kid? Because it turns out he's zero threat. And Amikiri's like, I've got an idea. And then in a very weird moment for the show, instead of showing us like how they're going to get from point A to point B, you just get the narrator who cuts in and says, so what they decided to do was to use the kid as a hostage to secretly call out Saizo to get him to come duel Amikiri again. And then we just cut to that scene. I actually
super dig this. I thought that was great, because there's so much stuff in all the Sentai shows where if there was a narrator who could just drop like a 2-line narration in that just says, this is how we got from this scene to the next scene. Actually, I'm glad that they don't, because our show would maybe not exist if that narrator were around all the time.
True, yeah.
But they do. It just says, this is what happened, and then we move on. So we're over at a factory, and like Saizo is creeping through, and he is in his like regular ninja garb. And I know I've mentioned this before, but like every time they henge out of their ninja clothes into their Sentai outfits, I'm a little bit bummed out, because their ninja clothes actually look like way cooler than their Super Sentai outfits.
Yeah, it's a sweet look.
Like, they're full ninjas, and they've got like head armor on, and like it's like they look super rad. And so then they turn in, they have like a spandex suit on and it looks not as cool. But anyway, so Saizo is like...
way when I was watching Power Rangers as a kid during the season where like they had that sort of...
Oh yeah, they all had ninja outfits on. They looked way cooler.
Well, yeah, but then I rewatched those episodes, like some of those episodes at some point, and like the Power Rangers versions of those clothes, while still cool, were not as cool as they were in my memory.
Yeah, man, nothing is, except the aforementioned last day of school. So...
Kovacs.
Heyo. So he's creeping through this factory. He's like looking around. Saizo sees Toru, and he's like gonna run over. And then all of these pictures start like flying at him. And he looks down, and it's the pictures of before at the docks. And Amikiri says, "You can't find like these pictures are terrible. You can't find my weakness with these pictures. You can just have them." So then there's a little bit of a fight scene.
Yeah, she says, "You can't find my weakness in these pictures. The only way to experience the power of the demon sword is firsthand." And then she goes to attack again.
Man, I forgot about that line, but that is a good line. So they're fighting, and then Saizo, this is a cool move, he like pulls out and he's got 3 smoke bombs between his fingers. Like he's holding 3 in one hand, and they're just like, you know what I mean? Like you've seen the move if you watch anime.
Yeah.
And so he like throws these smoke bombs, and he runs over to Toru and unties him, and he says, "Listen, you have got to take pictures." I think the implication is better pictures. You've got to take better pictures because this is the only way we can find her weakness. And the kid's like, "I'm so scared." Demon Sword charges them. Saizo and Toru run away. And as they're running away, Saizo gives this child some very questionable advice.
Hey, man, it's a pep talk. Don't you think this is a good bit of inspiration?
It is definitely... Okay, so what he says is, Saizo to Toru, an adult talking to a child, says, "A true photographer must risk his life. You can do it." Saizo, that is not a super heroic thing to say to a child.
Right. I mean, because, listen, that's true. Sometimes, like, like news photographers go into like war zones and they get amazing pictures risking their lives. But this is an 8-year-old boy, Saizo.
Yeah, that is not an okay thing to tell a small child when you are fighting a literal demon monster. So they're running away. They fight for a little bit. Saizo is losing pretty badly. He sort of like looks over at Toru and is like, "You can do it." And then Toru is like very scared. And then Saizo like sort of gathers his strength and he super henges and then he keeps fighting.
Okay, now here's a moment that I want to cut in, okay? When Saizo super henges and Toru...
It's a good henge.
It is a good one. He does it like while mid-jump towards the enemy. Like jumping over some like boxes and barrels to get back into the fight. It's like in slow-mo. It's very cool. Toru sees this and says, "Oh my gosh, he's a Kakuranger." Like, yeah, Toru. Did you not already catch that he was like a ninja who came to save you from a demon? What else did you think this guy was? Like, did you just expect that there was a whole other group of ninja running around fighting the good fight who just didn't happen to have the superpowers? What world is Toru living in? Or maybe that is the world. Maybe after all of the yokai got free, just like a bunch of other part-time ninjas started getting into the game, and we just don't see their stories.
Okay. So...
all I'm saying is it's possible.
So... Sorry, where were we? Saizo is still losing, right. So Saizo is still losing, and Toru looks and he's like, "Okay." And he sort of like, he hears Saizo's words of wisdom, which again are, risk your life for the shot. And he's like, "I can take pictures." And so he starts taking pictures. Okay, so the next scene that we see is Toru back at Nekomaru. And he says, "I got some pictures." And everyone's like, "Oh, awesome. Like, we need to develop these." So then we go over, and I guess they have managed to turn Nekomaru into like a makeshift dark room. And they are developing these pictures, which, like, I am fairly certain that developing pictures takes like some time. Like, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is not something that happens in like a minute and a half.
No,
this is like a fairly involved process.
To the show's credit, they did go to the bother of like making the interior of Nekomaru kind of look like a dark room, and he had like the various like trays of developing solution.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have no problem with any of that. I'm about to get to the thing that I find concerning.
Okay.
So, because as they're developing these pictures, so they develop these pictures, and then Toru like looks up at the Rangers and he says, Saizo told me that if I risk my life, I could take good pictures. And the other Rangers, rather than saying like, yes, we understand where he was going, but maybe do not risk your life, small boy, they all just sort of are like, haha, yes. And sort of like look at him and smile and nod like, great job, Toru. You keep on that track.
You get back out there.
He was right to say that. Yeah. So then here's my concern. Then we go back to the fight, and it has not stopped. Saizo did not like escape and is hiding. He's just been fighting Amikiri the whole time.
Yeah,
like developing pictures takes a while.
It absolutely does. Because, okay, here's what I thought was going to happen when I realized that this fight was still going on. And this did not end up being the case. I thought that Saizo was just going to like keep sort of fighting and running while they continued to take pictures until they were able to get enough of a thing that they could then put together some sort of idea as to what the weakness is.
Right.
Like, I thought he was stalling,
real quickly.
But that is not the case. He is just like running for his life.
Yeah. Real quickly, Matt, a quick Google search says that it takes about an hour to develop color film. That is how long it takes.
I was going to say, I did a little darkroom stuff in college, but it was only black and white, and even that took some time.
Yeah, so we come back to Saizo, and he's just like running away. He does pull a cool, this is a scene we see from the opening of the show. It's Ninpo running on water, so he's like running across water.
Very
it's
cool.
Pretty rad.
Like some like cool wire work to make it like function.
Yeah, it's neat. So then they are somehow in a quarry. And
listen, they've had an hour to get there. In this instance, I'm willing to give it to them that they ended up in a quarry eventually.
So they're in a quarry. Saizo gets hit by like some attack, and he rolls down this like pile of gravel. And this looks like the end. This is it for Saizo.
When suddenly Jiraiya is looking at the photographs and he says, "Oh, I see it. Like, that is where the weakness is." And then all of a sudden, all of the other Kakurangers and Toru have joined Saizo in the quarry.
Yes. And so what they have seen in this picture is that, like, in the joint of Amikiri's elbow on her demon sword arm, like, is not armored effectively.
Yeah, so
like that's their point of weakness.
The arm was originally cut off and where the new one is affixed to it, there is still a weak point.
Oh, yeah, geez. Did we mention that? That's why she has a grudge against the Saizo family line, because in the fight, the original Saizo cuts her arm off, which is why she has, like, the crazy Cyberblade arm.
Oh, yeah, sorry, guys. I really thought that we had mentioned that at some point.
That's our bad. Sorry, guys. But yeah, at the attaching point, also, where's Dr. Yagami in this? I feel like this is, like, a real easy fit to get that dude back into the show. But anyways.
Listen, there was already, like, a sword strapped onto somebody's arm in a way that seems really uncomfortable and way too extravagant. So they didn't need him. That was already done.
So there's Dr. Yagami. So there's Demon Sword, and it like looks like things are about to go very poorly. And then they pull the picture out and they show it to Saizo. They're like, dude, Saizo, check it out. Cool. And he's like, oh, no way. Great. So there's a bit of a fight.
Oh, yeah, there's a Dorodoro fight here somewhere. Not of much consequence. They just needed to pad out the episode for a few minutes.
Right. So then things get rad.
First of all, there's another time jump, and now it is sunset. And, like, the sun is hanging low in the sky, like this red-orange disc.
And there's like they use like the Wild West filter, like the color filter. So everything's sort of like brown and orange and red.
The best filter. And it's Saizo and Amikiri sort of like squaring off. And they both got their swords at the ready.
And they're doing that awesome thing from samurai movies where they're sort of like they're sort of like shifting their feet slowly, like inching closer to each other, like kind of slowly trying to get in range to see like who's going to kind of get squirrely first. And then they run at each other. So they're charging at each other. And then we get this, we catch them from the side, and Amikiri goes in with this like low swipey cut, and Saizo does like a spinning cartwheel flip over her arm.
It's awesome.
And then like spins around and like kind of even behind himself cuts into like her weak spot. And then she like goes down. He has like turned around at this point. So now he's facing her again. He does secret technique square cut. And then as it is like attacking her, he turns around and is looking away from her. And then she explodes.
It's so good.
This is maybe the best moment the best single moment we've had in this show so far. It's rad as heck.
Definitely the best fight moment.
Yeah, I'm comfortable saying that.
Well, okay, there was the death match in the electrified barbed wire cage.
Ooh, that was a really excellent moment.
This is very good also.
This is like a super cool dramatic moment. So they're like, we got you. And she says, well, it's time for gigantism. So then she turns into a giant. And they don't even bother with the generals. They just like, giant beast generals, Muteki Shogun is here. She attacks, flaming sword, game over. Amikiri dies.
She's very sad that she's been beaten again, but it's too late for her, and her energy goes up to join like the yokai energy cloud in the sky.
Right.
Do we mention that ever? Whenever the monsters die, like whenever they're growing, they do it by gathering energy from that huge energy cloud in the sky that we described in the first or second episode. But then when they die, they like dissolve into energy and go up into the sky, and I think join that cloud.
Yeah, that seems to be the impression.
So even though the Kakurangers are like beating these monsters, the general like energy level available to the yokai is staying about equal, because when they lose an active person, they gain more like potential energy.
Actually, I was going to say, not only is staying the same, I think potentially is increasing, probably.
Yeah, well, it's like Jet Li's the one. There are fewer people to spread that energy out to, so eventually it's probably all gonna go into like Young Noble Jr., and then Jet Li's the one.
Matt, that is precisely the movie that I was going to reference.
Dave, I can't tell you how often I end up referencing Jet Li's the one.
It's a surprising amount, you guys. So that's it. Amikiri's dead. She's in the cloud. We go back to Nekomaru. Everything's cool. The Rangers are working well together. Everything's great. Toru shows up again, and he has made, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 copies of this same picture of Saizo in his underwear. Oh, sorry. Should mention, the Guy Rangers are really excited because all of the customers today are cute girls.
Saizo was digging it. Because his earlier attempt at a date went very poorly. He's hoping to recoup something on this day.
So the Toru shows up, and he's got all these pictures of Saizo in his underwear. And he's like, now I want, I've made all these copies. I'll buy them. I'll sell them to you for this amount of money.
It's like, it's a steal. It's only 15,000 yen per picture.
And then Saizo starts chasing him, and Toru's like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, I just made these as a joke. You can have them. But then Saizo trips, and he like falls, and all the pictures fly up into the air, and presumably all the girls see them, and Saizo is horribly embarrassed. Fun, right?
Good times. And that is the end of the episode. Oh, actually, there is something else I wanted to mention in the episode. So we cut back to the narrator, right? And the narrator is saying, okay, we win. Great. And here is the quiz for the end of the episode, because they've been doing this recently. Well, they'll ask you a question about like what happened in the course of the episode to see if you remember some trivia bit. And the question they have is, what color was Saizo's underwear in the photograph? And to remind you of the photograph, they put it up on screen, but so that you don't see what color the underwear is, they've put like a big like white circle over his underwear region with a big red question mark on it. And so when you look at this picture, it looks for all the world like a picture of just naked Saizo that has been censored for television. And that is the end of the episode. The underwear was blue, of course. He's the Blue Ranger.
Right. Yeah, I think we all. So anyways, so that's the end of the episode. Where, Matt, does Amakiri fall on the Creature Royale?
Dude, I like Amakiri a lot.
Yeah, she's got a really cool look. I dig her like whole demon sword arm thing.
She's got an actual motivation.
Right.
Like a history. Like, I'm not saying that I'm going to put her up with Birdcage Vagrant.
No, that's crazy.
But they are kind of similar.
Okay, that they've both lost, like... All right.
Listen,
okay,
Birdcage
well...
Vagrant is, like, right under the Three Stooges, so I'm not going to say that Amakiri is that high.
No.
But I'm definitely looking, top third of the list.
Yeah, okay. Well, do you like her better than the Shootin' Doji brothers from last week?
I do.
I think, okay, and then here he is, holding strong. Is she cooler than Iron Mask Choryu?
Dude, she's got a great look.
She actually might be genuinely just on the strength of her look alone. I'm willing to say that. Okay, so in that case, is she cooler than Lipstick Songstress?
Both cool, both like sweet lady monsters with cool swords. She has like a crazy demon sword arm. Lipstick Songstress had a chorus of women who she had like used evil magic to transform into a death choir.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I think I actually am going to go higher than Lipstick Songstress because Amakiri has this like crazy hat robe. It's like very flowy and claw. I dig it anytime part of their look is not just like obviously like the rubber suit.
Yeah.
And that they've like incorporated some other element. I think she looks so much cooler than Lipstick Songstress. I'm going to say I don't think I like her quite as much as Kakitsuki, the mouth monster.
Okay, I'm comfortable. Yeah, let's put her right above Lipstick Songstress, but below Gakitsuki. There we go.
Yeah, Kakitsuki.
I knew I could do it.
It's a weird one.
I'm very proud of myself.
Okay, man, I think that's it for us this week, right?
Yes, that is going to do it for another episode of A View to a Kakuranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. You want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things we're talking about on Twitter? See that picture of Dave's chicken cacciatore, which I'll probably put up right after we finish recording this. We're on Twitter at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe us on iTunes. That's what's going to help new people find the show. Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to all the great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we're the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
We'll see you next week.